It was the morning of January 26th when Denver police shot and killed 17-year-old Jessica Hernandez. They say she and several teenage friends were driving a stolen car that struck and injured an officer. Police Chief Robert White says his officers repeatedly told her to get out of the car before they opened fire. But a passenger in the car who spoke with KUSA in Denver says Hernandez lost control of the car only after she was shot and became unconscious.
Cops walked up, they were on the side of her, and they shot the window, and they shot her. That's when she wrecked, and that's when the cop got hit.
Denver police do not use in-car dashboard cameras. We invited someone from the police department to join us on the show, but they declined, saying it would be inappropriate for them to comment while the case is under investigation. The shooting of Jessica Hernandez marks at least the fourth time in 7 months Denver police have fired at a moving vehicle despite a policy urging officers to try to move out of the way instead of shooting. 2 of those shootings resulted in the driver's deaths. In a statement, Hernandez's parents said, quote, "We are dismayed that the Denver Police Department has already defended the actions of the officers and blamed our daughter for her own death, even while admitting they had very little information. This unjustified shooting of our daughter is only the latest sign of an issue that requires federal oversight," they said. In an interview, Jessica Hernandez's mother also raised concerns about how her daughter was treated by police after they shot her. This is Laura Sonia Rosales Hernandez.
I was expecting the paramedics to take my daughter's body out with caution, but no, they slammed her body to the floor and dragged her like garbage.
Witnesses say Jessica Hernandez was dragged from the car, apparently unconscious. A video captured by a neighbor shows police handcuffed and appeared to search her after she was shot, rolling her on her back and stomach as she lay limp and motionless. The 2 officers involved in the shooting have been put on administrative leave while the incident is investigated. Last Thursday, activists angered by Jessica's death took over the stage at the National Conference on LGBT Equality that was held here in Denver, forcing Denver Mayor Michael Hancock to cancel his speech there. And on Saturday, an estimated 800 people gathered for the funeral of Jessica Hernandez, or Jessie, as she's known by her friends. For more, we're joined right now by 2 guests. Mimi Madrid Puga is with us, a community organizer and board member of the Colorado Anti-Violence Program, and Qusair Mohamedbhai, civil rights lawyer, attorney for the family of Jessica Hernandez. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Qusair, let's begin with you. Explain what you understand has happened. What happened on that morning of January 26th?
Well, we're cobbling together the facts still, but what we do know is that Jessica and 4 other teenagers between the ages of 15 and 17 were in a vehicle, and law enforcement descended on them on a report of suspicious activity. The vehicle was not moving at the time, and what we do know as well is that Jessica was killed by 3 or 4 bullets that were shot through the driver's side window, with the car either stationary or barely moving forward. The witnesses that we have interviewed have all disputed the police version of the events that said that she was either driving at somebody or that there was even a officer that was struck at the scene.
Well, explain the scene. Like, what does this was an alley where the car was?
Yeah, so the car was parked in an alley to the right side, and there were teenagers acting like teenagers. And police came from the front and the rear in vehicles. It's reported that they might have been unmarked.
What time was it?
It was 6:30 in the morning. It was reported that there might have been unmarked vehicles. And as Jessie reportedly put the car in reverse, almost at that exact moment, she was shot and killed. 3 times from bullets, all traveling from left to right.
How do you know where these bullets came from?
The family, fortunately, the Denver Coroner's Office has reached out to the family, and they've informed us of some preliminary forensic and pathology results.
Did you do a second autopsy?
There was a second autopsy done.
So you're saying she was shot from the left side. She was the driver. So a police officer was standing right outside her door?
That's correct.
To the side of her?
That's correct.
And they shot her into her side?
That's correct. All bullets traveled. The bullet that was likely fatal was almost horizontal, pierced her left lung, went through her heart, through her left ventricle, exited her right atrium, went through her right lung, and ultimately was lodged near her ribs.
And what happened next, according to what you understand?
Well, the pathology and forensics will show that there was a fairly substantial abrasion to her nose, and the eyewitness reports say that there was a substantial, her body was mishandled. She was violently pulled out, and there was likely a blunt force trauma to her face as she was taken down to the ground and handcuffed.
She was shot, she was unconscious, and she was handcuffed?
She was shot, she was most likely killed, and then she was handcuffed rather violently.
I want to turn to an interview that the Denver police chief, Robert White, did with the Denver Post. He offered his version of how Jesse Hernandez was fatally shot by police.
Shortly after arriving on the scene, and they received a call for a suspicious auto. The first officer arrived there, ran the tags, and it was a stolen car. The second officer arrived. The officers exited the car in an attempt several times to ask the individuals to come out of the car. Obviously, that didn't occur. And at some point, the original officer that responded to the scene, the vehicle started driving towards him, which pretty much had him between the car, and I think there was a brick wall and a fence there. And out of fear for his safety, he fired several shots, and the other officer also fired several shots, striking the driver of the car, which was a 17-year-old juvenile, and she was pronounced at the hospital. The officer, the original officer, received a fractured, by the way, broken fracture, a fractured to his leg as a result of the incident.
That's Denver Police Chief Robert White. So he's saying there was an officer in front of the car and I guess an officer to the side, that the officer to the front of the car was shooting at her.
This is wishful thinking by the Denver Police Department. They've already changed and reformulated their public messaging here. First, they said that an officer's leg was broken at the scene. Then they've come out and said that the officer's leg was fractured, and now they're not even confirming that an officer was struck, only that an officer was injured. This is a largely cut and paste public narrative that the Denver police has had to do 4 times in the last 7 months to justify the killing of people, minorities, unarmed minorities in our community.
Mimi Madrid-Puga, you're an organizer with the Colorado Anti-Violence Program. How did you get involved with this?
Mostly getting involved not only from community, but also understanding that Jesse could easily be one of the young people that we work with, and could easily be myself, and could easily be our community. We definitely feel that survivor support is crucial and necessary to any kind of organizing that we do in community. And we understand that Jesse's murder leaves many survivors, her family, her siblings. She was the eldest of 5 that we know. And she was also a pillar in her community, her own community of chosen family. In all these services and all these places, we've seen an influx of young, queer, lesbian, gay, bisexual, young people who come to pay their respects and their support. And so we know that we have to stand in solidarity between all these movements, between identities of race, identities of sexuality, identities of young people too, because we see that young queer people of color are not valued in this institution. For example, the police. Our lives are not valued, and we understand that our lives are sacred. Our lives are worth keeping. And Jesse was brutally murdered, and as a community, we stand with her and with her family and ensuring that her story gets told in a real way, that she is not criminalized by the media, but that people tell the real story of who Jessie was as an older sister, as a friend, as a lover, and as a young person who had so much life left in her.
800 people came to the funeral.
Yes. Yes.
The funeral took place, Qusair, at her church.
Yeah, the church that her family and her had attended their whole lives, the church where she was baptized and where she was recently confirmed.
The priest very emotional in the service.
The priest at points breaking down and crying over the loss of Jessie.
Mimi, have you spoken with Jessie's family?
Yes, we have. As our group at Branching Seeds of Resistance, a lot of us come from that Mexican family. A lot of us are first generation people who are born here. A lot of us share the same identities and some of the same experiences as Jessie. 10 years ago, I was going through the same rites of passage of being on the streets and being a young person and taking cars and being with my friends.
What do you mean taking cars?
Either taking cars or being in situations that can be deemed as criminal, but are just rites of passages for a lot of young people. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about is where is our culture, where is our art, and where are these institutions here protecting us to provide young people with opportunities and good rites of passages.
I wanted to turn to Jessie's cousin. After Jessie was killed, her cousin Jose Castaneda protested outside the district attorney's office and confronted Deputy District Attorney Doug Jackson.
I feel like there was a better solution to this. There's other tactics that they can use. There's other weapons that they could have used. It's 5 teenagers. There's no reason for you to open fire on any teenager no matter what. I can understand if somebody got out the car and pulled out a gun on him or something, but there was no incident whatsoever. He got hit by a car. My cousin got shot dead. Nobody's gonna take that pain away. They can fix his leg. They can do whatever, but nobody's gonna bring her back.
That's Jose Castaneda protesting outside the district attorney's office. Can you comment on this, Mimi?
Absolutely. The young people in Denver and the young people across the nation are hurt, are in pain, and need healing. This is a traumatizing event for all the young people that Jessie shared her life with, her cousins, her family, even her school. These are the very same people that we're supposed to be trusting in and who is supposed to protect us. And when we see this happen, there's a level of pain and healing that needs to happen in community.
How does these protests that have been growing, I mean, 800 people at the funeral, they did not know Jessie, all of them, but came out in solidarity, fit into the Black Lives Matter movement?
Absolutely. I think that there's a sense of solidarity, and there's a saying that says an attack on community is an attack on me. And so I think that a lot of people were able to see Jessie's case, are able to see Jessie's family with that empathy that the priest talked about at her service. Empathy is what we need today. And so moving forward, solidarity is the #1 thing on the spot. We need to have solidarity between race, between gender, between orientation, between ages, and have an intergenerational movement of healing.
Qusair Mohammed Bai, can you talk about the police shooting at a moving vehicle here in Denver, what the rules are?
The policies in Denver are largely antiquated. Places on the East Coast, more sophisticated organizations, completely forbid the shooting of at moving vehicles because it's common sense that shooting at a vehicle is not going to stop it from moving. Denver police has a largely cowboy Hollywood mentality where they think that shooting at a car will suddenly cause it to blow up and stop. It's not true. And so Denver's policies and their inability to correct them, despite 4 deaths in the last 7 months, has largely contributed to Jessie's death.
Again, how many times in the last few months?
4 deaths in the last 7 months.
What are you calling for now?
We're calling for the Denver District Attorney's Office to step aside voluntarily and allow an outside agency such as the FBI to investigate these officers criminally. We're asking the Denver Police Department to no longer investigate and police their own. These are broken systems, and it's common sense that brothers who are going to be investigating brothers, the outcome is predictable, and we know based upon the Denver District Attorney's failure to prosecute any police officer for shooting since 1992, we know the result. We know that the Denver District Attorney is going to exonerate these police officers.
Finally, Mimi, the issue of Jesse's LGBT identity. The shooting comes at a time of increased violence against LGBT people. At least 5 transgender women of color have been murdered so far this year.
Absolutely. It's a pattern that we're seeing that, again, I said queer, transgendered folks see 6 times more violence than straight white people, and so this is definitely a pattern that's happening across the nation and across the globe. Queer folks are being attacked and murdered and killed, and our lives are not being valued as what they're for.
How do you think police perceive Jesse?
I'm not entirely sure, but Jessie was definitely masculine presenting. She had short hair, and I think that whether we are queer, whether we're passing as women or we're passing as men, it doesn't matter anymore. We're being shot regardless of what we look like, especially if we look like men of color. Even if we identify as women, we're being shot at the rate as men. And so we're asking people to text to get more information with the Presente.org petition, Justice for Jessie, and the number is 225568 to get more information and sign a petition.
The police have been put, Qusair, on administrative leave?
Yes, they have.
Is there a grand jury been impaneled?
Based on the history of the Denver District Attorney's Office, it is unlikely.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. We'll certainly continue to follow this case. Qusair Mohammed-Bai, civil rights lawyer, attorney for the family of Jessica Hernandez, and Mimi Madrid-Puga, a community organizer, board member of the Colorado Anti-Violence Program.